Arthur Fonzarelli.
Right.
Yeah.
Is Ben? Obviously, you're there.
Hey,
Yeah.
I tell you what Arthur Fonzarelli wouldn't have did. Called C.J. Stroud average.
He got better as the game got longer. They took him out.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're ready. Let's go.
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, all you listeners out there. You are in the Dog Pound with unfiltered, uncensored camaraderie between former players from the Cleveland Browns, Leroy Hoard, Frank Stamps, Mike Tomczak. We're breaking down the only playoff game that the Browns played in this year after 11-6 regular season. They went down to Houston, and they just ran out of time. Is that the best way to sum it up, fellas?
Well, I've summed it up as, and we've all watched this man play a lot of football. Flacco, right? And we were playing with fire. We were playing with fire, and we was gonna ride or die with him, and we died with him, and that's okay because the job that Kevin Stefanski did, starting 5 quarterbacks, and still got them to 11-6 record. I'm not ashamed. I'm not upset. I'm not disappointed. Sure, I'm disappointed in how the season ended. But for them to get to that point and persevere with all the injuries on defense, on offense, I think it was a job well done. And to be honest with you, I can't wait to just see them have a run with health.
And to piggyback on that. So when the schedule first came out, I picked the Browns to go 11-6. That's fully healthy.
Right.
That's fully healthy. So I picked them to go 11-6, fully healthy. So I'm thinking, so for them to go 11-6, and it could have been 12-5 if they would have played everyone in that last game.
Right.
For them to do that with all these injuries, 26% of their starters were on IR.
Right.
That's a high number. And so for them to go through what they did and endure this season, like you said, we're disappointed that we're not moving on, but we're not disappointed to where they got.
Right.
It was one of those situations, it was bound to run out.
Oh, right? Yeah. it crashed and burned a little hard.
Right.
But
it was when you're playing with all these backup linemen, you have all these guys not in, out, the
defense was already giving up plays. Now you got backups in there, sometimes get a little lost in the secondary, and you had a guy who picked them apart. It was like it was a collision course to that happening.
I got a question I've been waiting to ask TZ. Because as I watched that game, and I think that game and the Packers game, Packers Cowboys game were a mirror image for me when I'm talking about watching those offenses and how they schematically pick those defenses apart and use their aggressiveness against them. How does that feel when you're a quarterback and you can just know that wherever you throw it, somebody's going to be wide the hell open?
High percentage plays, high percentage completions. These guys do some advanced scouting, and obviously they found something in the secondary with the Cleveland Browns that was not a plus for the Browns, and they attacked it openly and often, right? Openly and often.
Mike, the other thing is that no team that the Browns have played have had that much time to throw the football. And that's the thing that goes unnoticed, is that one of the reasons why the secondary looks so good is because any quarterback that the Browns played against didn't have time.
That goes back to that aggression thing. So if they saw T-Zac look to his left, they taking off over there. But because C.J. Stroud had so much time, they just bend that receiver right back to the other side.
Right.
You throw it all the way back across the field, wide open.
I mean, some of them balls, he was throwing lollipops because he had the whole field, and the guy was running under it. And I'm like, holy smoke, even with the blitz. I mean, it was.
Didn't they hit a tight end for like a 76-yard touchdown?
That was a little short pass where no one wanted to tackle it.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? The 2 tight ends that balled out this weekend both played at the University of Miami.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
You know, to add a little bit to this, you know, when teams come up with a game plan, you know, obviously you want to attack the weakest link, right? And you want to shore up your weakest link on offense. And certainly they knew that their offensive line can handle the defensive pursuit of this, you know, number one defense in the NFL. They stymied them. They stymied them time after time again with 5-man protection, 6-man protection. And to your point, guys, they made a half a field or third of the field read for Stroud. You know, they would take everyone from the left side, bring him across, and they'd take that guy, Collins, and let him climb the ladder across the field. And all they had to do was watch one individual, the free safety to that 3-receiver side. The free safety goes, he's got a wide open shot. And he certainly had a check down with the back and everything. But kudos to the coaching staff, the way the team executed on the Houston. I was floored, guys. I was lost for words once this thing got out of hand. You know, we were all in shock.
It just looked like it was nothing that the Browns could do to stop them. And that if you on the field or if you are watching your team, it is the worst feeling in the world to know they ain't stopping them today.
You know what's disappointing?
Well, you know, let me just comment on that. You know, in the third quarter, it's 24-14. Browns are driving. And Flacco throws a 86-yard pick six. That's a big turnaround. You know, if they go in to score there, which, you know, they very well could have, it could have been 24-21. That's a whole nother ball game. I don't think it was as out of hand until that point as we're all making it out to be, or people making it out to be. To me, what's disappointing, what I saw Houston play is a lot faster than the Browns, which really, really surprised me. Constantly, I saw our defensive players running after theirs. And I brought up that tight end catching that ball for 76 yards for a point. And then at what point, I mean, does the tight end go 70? Well, how does the tight end go 76 yards for a touchdown? Now, I know, Eric, you said, you brought up a great point. Nobody wanted to tackle him. Well, that's a problem. And, you know, that's not so much Stroud as
dude's not slow either. Let's not make it sound like he was just, you know, he was moving.
So wait, Frank, you can't say that's not so much Stroud. Come on, let's not do that.
You're saying hitting you're saying that.
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying you're trying to diminish what he did by saying.
No, I'm not. That's what you're saying. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is where's the defense? Where's the coverage on the tight end? And when the tight end catches the ball, how come we can't catch? How come we can't tackle the tight end?
I can tell you exactly how that play went. So it was Taki and JOK rushing in front of the tight end. They saw Stroud coming around. They both ran to try to get the sack. JOK should have been running with the tight end. He did not. That's why he was wide open. That's why he dumped it right over his head. Martin Emerson comes over there and whiffs at him. Then it was nobody but Obo chasing him because they were man-to-man. That's where they were.
So they picked a bad day to have a bad day.
Right.
Well, and that's always going to be always going to be the case in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
The Browns, you know, hey, listen, I was wrong. I give Stroud, boy, he showed the poise in that pocket. He showed the accuracy. You know, the game was not larger than him.
Basically, he did what he'd been doing all year.
No, I don't agree with that. But
what? He's been doing this all year.
How many games did they lose this year?
How many games did he miss?
No, how many games? No, answer. How many games did he lose this year? So obviously he hasn't been doing it all year long. They've got
wait.
No.
Just because they have wait.
Let me finish my point.
Frank, no. Just Frank. Just because. Wait, Frank. Hold on 1 second. Just because they didn't win doesn't mean he wasn't doing this all year. What the hell's wrong with you?
Hey, easy now. If you want to make it a personal attack, we can make it a personal attack. If I disagree with you, it's not because I'm
not the only one you disagree with.
You come at me personally.
I'm not.
So just stop it right there. Okay.
Okay. So tell me what he didn't do all year.
Well, I'd have to go back into those games, those 8 games.
But you brought it up. You brought it up.
All right.
You brought it up, so you must have some information.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know. They're not winning games. They lose 8 games. So
it doesn't mean he wasn't playing well.
So obviously, it doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
So,
oh, my goodness.
It doesn't.
You're telling me
if
that
he threw
Stroud,
for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and they lost 35-28, does that mean he didn't play well?
I'm not saying that. You guys,
you just said that.
Just let me finish my thought. Obviously, Houston is beatable. Stroud is beatable. All right. The Browns did not beat him that day, and it wasn't all. I said Stroud had a good game. All right. He showed a lot of poise. He showed a lot of accuracy. But those receivers were those. I mean, there was probably 6 or 7 plays that accounted for 200 yards of passing. Those receivers were wide open, and when they weren't wide open, they weren't able to tackle them. So there's at least half of Stroud's performance, his outstanding performance, comes based on a lack of really defensive performance.
So
it wasn't like Stroud. Don't tell me that Stroud lit him up. What was his final numbers?
He did light him up. He did light him up.
15 to 21. 15 to 21, I think, for
but here's the thing.
But
they were big plays. But here's the thing. We say the Browns did not play well. We never say that the other team made them look like they didn't play well.
I said it's 50-50. I'm not saying are you telling me that was all Stroud that won that game?
I never said that. I never said that.
I'm asking you if that's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. But what you're saying is that he did not do this all year when you can clearly go look at his stats and see that he did. And wins don't say that you did something or did not do something.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that they do or they don't. I'm saying I'm saying I'd have to go back in each game. But I'll tell you what, it's a strong indicator. It's a strong indicator that he didn't play well, since he's the primary ball handler, and he's really the engine in the NFL. The quarterback makes the team go.
Who had the best turnover ratio in this league?
Typically, as the quarterback goes in the NFL,
who had the best turnover ratio in this league?
Probably, I wouldn't say Baltimore. Is it San Francisco?
No, I mean him as far as
quarterback.
Oh, Flacco had it.
And listen, if you want to jump around and cherry pick stats, I'm not prepared to do that.
That's what. Now. Wait, but Frank, the only reason why we're going here is based on what you started the conversation with.
Okay, let me.
Now you want to backtrack.
Let me go back.
You want to backtrack and say I don't have the numbers.
Typically, with 8 losses, as the quarterback goes, the rest of the team goes. Now, if the beginning of next year, I'll get back in. I'll break down all those games, and I'll talk about Stroud and whether or not where he graded out. But I'm not. But you can't tell me.
How can you possibly grade this man out after what you said about him?
What's that?
You called him average. How could you possibly grade him out?
Well, he was above average. He was above average the other day.
Average. One day.
I'm not saying for one day. Well, yeah, for one day he was above average. I'm not saying he wasn't above average throughout the whole season. I'm saying in all, as a rookie quarterback. Let me ask you a question: Did who had a better game? Love at Green Bay? I mean, Love at Dallas or Stroud in Houston?
Loved it.
So I'm just not buying.
But if you put it in context, if you put it in context,
I don't understand what the hell you.
What I'm trying to say is I'm not buying into the NFL's hype that these rookie quarterbacks are the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're having great games, and they're having good days. But I don't think we're ready to put them in the category of, let's say, Dan Marino or John Elway or Brett Favre.
Can I say this? The reason why there's so much hype around C.J. Stroud is one of the toughest things to do as a rookie quarterback is have a good touchdown to turnover ratio. Go look at the history of football, okay? He led the league. So already that separates him from all other rookie quarterbacks with how he played during the course of the year. The second is go look at the amount of yards he threw for. Now, I don't care what you think.
4,108 to be exact.
He threw for the third most yards as a rookie ever. So we bringing these numbers to this conversation as fact. The only person who tried to discredit all that is you. Before the game, and now you're trying to save face by saying it was
I'm
more
not
on the
trying to
defense.
save face.
Yes, you are.
I'm not trying to save face. All right.
Then what do you call it? Because you still are diminishing what this man done on the football field.
No, I'm not. Hey, he
You
had a
are.
great game. He had a great game.
But when we
and
said
what,
this,
did I say I was wrong? I said I was wrong.
We said this before.
Proved me wrong.
We said this before we started this. Okay, that C.J. Stroud is doing what he has done all year to lead us to the point of saying what we said about C.J. Stroud before the game. You discredited all that. You went with how many games did they win, which is not a fair assessment of a quarterback.
Well, I think it's probably the large. I think it's the biggest stat out there, isn't it? Games won.
Yeah, but to your point, Leroy, Frank, and Eric. You know, I held a record for the most wins for a starter. You know, for a long time until Ben Roethlisberger. Your first 10 games I played in, we won the game, and it was almost embarrassing to accept that, right? Because it's still a team win. It's one of the greatest team sports around. It will always be the greatest team sport. I left Chicago, the winningest quarterback in Chicago Bear history. What does that mean? We had a great football teams. We had great teams. I contributed. I made the sides even and everything. But C.J. Stroud is one of many people who had an amazing year, Frank. I mean, you know, this guy's going to go out and win Rookie of the Year. He's going to go out and set these records. And the comparisons that these guys are making, the Marino, Elway, Aikman, Favre, and everything, look at their rookie numbers. They don't even stand close, I don't think. Marino's rookie year, they went to the Super Bowl. And I'd have to go back and see exactly how well he performed. Yeah.
I think he threw for over 5,000 yards that year, too.
What did Troy win one game in his rookie year?
Yep.
One.
Where did Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning had about 700 turnovers.
Yeah.
Right? And Ben Roethlisberger won the Super Bowl in spite of Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl in spite of Tom Brady. Right? He was just a piece of it. Don't screw it up.
So, Adam Vinatieri. Yeah. Adam Vinatieri.
Right. We've seen a lot of these young quarterbacks.
Right.
And I can't recall seeing anybody perform this well and this consistent over a period of time, over his rookie year. Hey, they've had ups and downs. You go look at all the quarterbacks in the most recent years. There's nobody performed like he did. None of them. No matter how great they are now. Nobody has got it this quick.
As a rookie. Now Aaron Rodgers, his first year. Love, his first year. He's not rookie.
Sat.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct. They sat. And there are a lot of guys that did that. You know, if you want to compare apples to apples, look at the guys that came in as rookies. Look at Young. Compare him to Young, the number one pick in the draft last year for the Carolina Panthers. His numbers are atrocious.
Right.
Right.
And he was the second pick.
And CJ was the second pick. And hang with me on this, guys. You know, that playoff game last year, FBS playoff game, Georgia versus Ohio State. Mm-hmm. December, whatever it was, January 1st.
He showed Stone's there.
He shows, and that's when his stock started to climb from that point forward. Because he played a tremendous.
It was actually the bowl game the year before when he threw for 570 something yards and 6 touchdowns
in the Rose Bowl
against Utah.
Right.
In the Rose Bowl.
Right. And then he came back. And that year it was without Olave and Wilson. And then last year, and then the year you're referring to, they played Georgia in the Peach Bowl. He threw for 400 something yards, and Marvin Harrison got hurt and didn't finish that game out. So that guy can play football. He's always been able to play football.
Yeah. And let's move past this point, you know, unless you want to talk more about it, Frank, because, you know, arguing about if he's good or not, or he's average, he's getting better or anything. The guy's a baller. You know, right, flat out, he's a baller. we learned a lot in these playoff games, right, guys? Who were some of your top performers around, the 8 games we watched this weekend?
I
Love?
would say the one that I was like really shocked about was probably Love, because early in the year they were having questions whether he was the guy or not, and then it kind of started clicking for him, and then they start winning games, and then when they got to the end of the year, he was kind of, he was getting there, and he just exploded.
But the end of the year for them was Aaron Jones coming back.
Correct. That too. And here's the other thing.
So that
one of the things that people don't understand is that Love don't have that game if they don't run with Aaron Jones, because everybody that beats the hell out of Dallas starts off by running the football.
Yeah.
So it's got to be Jordan Love. He was the guy. He was the guy, but it looked so similar to what Stroud did. I mean, they didn't throw
flicking it, just.
Hey, that's a new way to throw, guys. New way to throw, right?
Scheme. They were
Aaron Rodgers-esque, right? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers-esque, sliding on, just, and that rotational throwing is starting to become a craze in these quarterbacks now.
What is that rotational throwing?
Well, it's from the torso, right? You keep your feet on the ground. You don't stride into your throw. And I don't have a camera that can bring it to my feet.
I know what you're saying, but it's hard when you don't step. It's hard to get a jump on it. So you basically throwing with your torso.
Torso, yeah.
Right,
and you sit back. You sit back on your back leg, and it's amazing how accurate. I've seen some of these guru quarterback coaches demonstrate it. And then I see these young high school athletes start flicking it like this. If I knew that back, 40 years ago when I started, probably 50 years ago. But the flick, man, it's become a thing. Brett Favre did it subconsciously, right? He was one of the first ones. Brady started to get it, that rotational. At Tom House is the baseball throwing guru. So, we saw it full action. C.J. Stroud is not one of those rotational guys yet, but I think he'll get to it. But Jordan Love, what grace he showed compared to a guy that's making $42 million a year in Dak Prescott, and then you got a $500,000 salary guy just balling. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. I was also pretty impressed with you look at what the Texans done with you got to give some love to Baker, right? Because,
standing ovation for him. Ovation for him.
Because he bounced around a little bit. He got some footing, and he's leading that team. I don't know how far they're going to go, but with that defense, you can't tell me they don't have a chance.
Both quarterbacks, Green Bay and Detroit. Matthew Stafford, guys. He took one for the team, man. He got beat up. Stafford got beat up, but he played.
Philly's bad.
Philly's bad. Hey, have you ever seen? I've never seen a team without losing some weapons that start off like that and then finish like that.
That was wild. 10 and 1.
10 and
it was
1.
10-1. They were 10-1 this year.
It's 10-1.
At one time.
Because remember when they were 10-1, that's when San Fran was going through that 3-game slide, and they're like, Philly's going back. They're gonna destroy everybody, and then they just switched,
including themselves.
Right. So, do you think Green Bay has a chance against San Francisco?
I do. Brock Purdy can get, a couple crazy things can happen, right? A special team touchdown on the road. Obviously the week off. That's one thing I wanted to ask you guys. That last game was meaningless, right? Do you think the mindset was still carrying it over to the Cleveland Browns practice, or you think they were mature enough to put that last game against Cincinnati behind them and go out there and play a solid football game?
To be honest, it seems like just the whole team, the way they've handled adversity this year, would show that they're more mature, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't make anything of it.
Good.
I just think there were some big plays that were had early in the game. And then anytime you give the other team 14 points, you can't expect to win a playoff game. You just can't. And it got out of hand.
I'm with Leroy there. I think they're mature enough to just sit down and relax and get ready for it. I still go back to they were schemed well against.
Right.
They just had an answer. for everything they wanted to do, what the Browns were doing. They had
pressure. They had an answer.
pressure. They had
Twist.
guys running all over the place.
They ran games up front. They had an answer.
They were like, look at this hand while they stealing with the other.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Man.
Game.
You know, it's
coaching.
very hard.
Coaching and buying in.
It's very hard to say this for at least a lot of fans. We can say this, right? Because we've been around it long enough. The Texans were better
On that day.
On that day. And
tip your hat.
And yes, and it could be anybody. The great thing about football and the NFL is it could be somebody else's day any given Sunday. And so when people start talking about, oh, this team is that, I'm always, hold up. They got a $30 million guy on their team too.
Well, let me give you something that's disturbing to me though.
What's up?
This was disturbing. To see Myles Garrett after the game in the press conference and listen to him say that Schwartz told them, this is what we're going to run and we're not going to change it. This is who we are.
Why are you saying that Schwartz is obviously, I think what you're saying is Schwartz is being too stubborn, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I'm saying if you're finding dudes wide ass open in the
you gotta change it up.
Why would you not want to change it up? Because if you're going to keep doing the same thing, they're going to keep doing the same thing.
Right. They ain't make no adjustments offensively because you didn't.
Right. Now, if we would have changed some things up, some coverages, then they might have looked different.
Now, I will say this. With the 2 pick sixes, and I think they were back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Same, different series, yeah.
Back-to-back possessions.
That kind of takes away from whether you can continue doing the same thing. And I think at that point, they had to take more chances, right?
So, yeah, it certainly does change the complexion of things. So I'm still analyzing what you said about Schwartz. So maybe Schwartz didn't realize, that, he didn't have the players. I mean, to accomplish what he was trying to get done. I mean, maybe I'm not talking about the front four, and I'm not talking about the linebackers. I'm talking about the secondary. Maybe Schwartz failed to recognize we're not matching up well with what we're trying to accomplish. Could that be it?
Yeah, but Frank, I think the whole thing was timing.
Right.
The timing. He had so much time to throw the ball. I don't care who you got back there in that secondary.
I hope he was watching the same game I was watching, because I recognize that shit.
And you figure it out. And that's why you're in the dog pound on alumnimedia.com and all your listening devices. Check us out with Leroy Horde, Eric Metcalf, Frank Stams, Mike Tomczak, bring it to you raw, unfiltered, uncensored. The number one podcast on alumnimedia.com.
So, it's been eating at me a long time. So, Stroud, I was a little stubborn going into that game, but I just refused. I came, when I first came into the league, I had an old salt of a defensive coordinator just railed against rookies. I had older guys that basically, you talk about freaking, abusing rookies. Excuse me. I remember Jackie Slater putting a knot on my head. He headbutted me. I'm pass rushing against him the first practice I ever went through. Basically, he headbutts me. And he says, "Welcome to the NFL." I mean, it was like somebody hit me in the head with a sledgehammer.
Frank, you do realize they don't play that kind of football anymore.
I was just going to say that.
Well,
like, why do you doing? You were doing the thing that young players always talk about old players.
Yeah, well, I come by it honestly. So I got a little, I just I just refused to believe that a rookie could do that. Now he proved me wrong, and he is above average quarterback. He proved his worth there in that game Saturday. But part of it is and I don't know how big of a part is what Stefanski said. You know, the Browns had a bad day. And I'm trying to figure out, I went on the Fan today, trying to say why they had a bad day. And maybe you guys can shed some light on this. Is they just, I mean, was it that they weren't prepared to play that game?
No.
Or, I mean, here's the question, and people are scratching their head. Why is the number one defense go in there and have a bad day? It can't be. Now, if you guys want to say it was all Stroud, then okay, then I got to eat my words.
That's
But
not
it
what I
can't
said.
be. It can't be all. It
Here-
can't be all Stroud.
Here's what happens.
It
Frank,
goes
here's
back
what
to what I
happens.
said.
Here's what
Yeah,
happens
you
with
go ahead.
defensive football, right? You're used to playing a certain way, right? You're used to having certain blitzes, certain rushes, certain games, and you have all year, you have shrunk the timing
Mhm.
of that quarterback to where your secondary can make plays, you get sacks, and what have you. Okay? The way that game started off, CJ Stroud had all day to throw the ball. That is a shock to everybody on that defensive side of the ball involved. Now, how do you make adjustments? You bring more people, right? So they figure, okay, if we bring a couple of linebackers, right, and let's cut down his pressure. Let's take this rookie's clock and speed his clock up. But he sat back there poised and he still delivered the ball. So
Well,
you
here's
have
what-
now tried a few
Yeah.
things to do what you have been doing all year.
Right.
And when
But
you're
you
looking
know-
at it, and Frank, let me say this, and to Leroy's point, and when you're looking at it, when you're not used to seeing what you've seen all year, you're sitting there looking like a DB thinks 3 seconds, 4 seconds.
Right.
That's all I got to get. That's all I got to do. But he's getting longer than that. So that double move is what's killing him.
Right.
That's starting to deep over and then going back to the other side. That's killing them because they're not used to that. So they're believing what their eyes see at first.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys trying to help me out with this because I'm really, this is the hardest game that hardest game for me to swallow. I'm still not over it. I mean, emotionally, I was let down after that game. I just,
So let me ask you a question, Frank. Before
well,
you go,
I want to say, but let me say this.
Let me ask
What's that? Yeah, go ahead.
you this question: is this game because the Rams basically did the same thing? But I think this game is harder just because it is a playoff game. The Rams did the same thing schematically, just basically took advantage of what they didn't do.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of reasons why it's a hard game for me. I just, but here's what I don't understand. So you watch their last game, the first play of the game, you see him go up top for a 76-yard. Don't you, if you're in the defensive secondary, don't you say, okay, I'm not going to give up the big play. I'm just not going to do it. They can catch the ball all they want in front of me. I'm just not. And when the Browns go into the game saying, we're just not going to give up the big play and we're just not going to let them do
Right.
that. But yet
They're not
they
used to,
did.
but they're thinking they're going to get home with the rush.
Right.
But they don't
But
have
Frank,
to worry about that.
Here's the other thing.
That's
There's a
great, but you can't
difference.
put all your eggs in that basket.
There's a difference. They've been doing it all year. Frank, here's the thing though. You're talking about a guy going down the field on like a go route. Now imagine that guy outside on the go route, but he runs a corner route on the opposite side of the field.
Deep over.
A deep over. So while you talk about how can you just get beat deep, you clear it out. You got the one guy on the right side running the go. Denzel or whoever's playing corner think they got him on lockdown. And then somebody catches the ball 15 yards underneath them because the people on the left side didn't run all the way over. And they end up flooding one side of the ball.
Were the
You
Browns
can see it coming, but
were
you
the
just
Browns-
hope when those plays happen, your pass rush get to him before a guy can run a 75-yard route.
You think the Browns were confused in the secondary?
No, I just think that what the Texans
Schemed
did,
him. Schemed him. Yeah.
what the Texans
Yeah, they
did,
schemed him.
running those. Dude, Frank, do you know how you're talking to three offensive guys? if we ever sat in a huddle and somebody had a 25 or 30-yard crossing route, the first thing the quarterback says, give me a look when you get over the ball, because I might not have time for you to get all the way over there. And they had time for him to get all the way to the other side of the field. That's unheard of.
And then with that in mind, you say, okay, Frank Stan's got to cover Eric Metcalf for 40 yards.
Right.
Give me some time. And he got time. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but see, I get that, and I've been in a situation where, and I was whether you guys want to believe it or not, I was I played the will. I was the cover guy. I was the guy that had the back out of the backfield. I was but if I knew, I mean, and I remember Emmitt Smith got me for about a 65-yard
Eric Metcalf?
little F angle. But my linebacker coach took up for me and he said, well, Jesus Christ, okay, so he got burned. Where are the safeties? So, but let me get to the point. But if I know, that was one incident. But if I go back into that game, or if that's happened to me once or twice, and it's happened, I mean, I'm able to. So here's how I'm going to guard Eric Metcalf or Leroy Horde if I know that I'm outmatched. Physically, I'm going to cushion. I'm going to keep those guys in front of me. I'm going to leverage them a little bit where I'm going to be on top, coming down, at least trying to make a play on them. But what I saw, these receivers, they were running. The Browns were, when the ball was caught, the Browns were running after them. Why did they not maintain leverage?
You make it sound like the running back going to be where you want him to be.
So not only that, he's talking about coming down and collisioning a running back, which
I'm not doing. If I know that I'm outmatched, I'm not going to collision you.
Right. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're going to do, however you're going to approach it, you're talking about the first 1 to 2 seconds.
Right.
Which those guys are talking about our rush is going to get there. Now, when we start talking about 3, 4, 5 seconds, what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, but I didn't see Stroud holding the ball that long. Did you?
He was dancing around, throwing it wherever he wanted to.
Well, I thought he was throwing the ball. Hey, Mike, was he throwing the ball on time?
There was a play. Play where he had a crossing route about 15 to 20 yards deep, and the rush came, and he just threw it to where it almost looked like he was throwing it away, and the guy ran under it.
But
I'm like, holy smokes.
I thought Stroud for the most game, and I probably didn't watch it as close as you. I thought he was throwing the ball on time most of the game.
No, even to the tight end who was wide open, he just threw it up and threw it short and hoping that because he was all by himself.
Right.
He did throw timing routes, guys. He did 21, 22 attempts. He'd get the ball out quick. And
hey, and we got lucky. He missed the one deep ball.
I know. Cooks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the game of football. There's angles and there's ways you can cover guys coming out of the backfield, but the game has changed. I don't see many linebackers pushing those crossing routes, those guys off your route. Leroy, if you come into a linebacker, you wouldn't mind collision. You wouldn't mind collision.
You know what I hated? I hated being the underneath guy on a XY cross or because the underneath guy was going to get crushed.
Yeah.
Making room for the other guy. But if you ran underneath, because guess what? Pepper Johnson wasn't running with you, but he would put an elbow on you.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so, but it's changed now.
Do they allow that anymore?
No, you can't.
Within 5 yards.
Within 5 yards. But now here's the other point. They do that stuff with wide receivers. So you're getting those crossing routes with 2 DBs crossing the field. And so if any one of them get caught up, the other guy is wide open on the backside.
Happened in Tampa game yesterday.
Yep.
You saw it often.
Happened in Tampa game. The guy ran into the linebacker, took the DB out, and the guy running across the field wide open.
Right.
It's become a craze now. They put trips to one side with the single receiver with the tight split. They run these guys all the way across.
Yep.
Okay, and then they bring the back. Who's set weak. As soon as these guys cross, the back's going to the field.
Right.
Right.
Backs going to the field with all that mesh happening. It's a smart play because even in zone coverage, there's still completion. Right? You're going to run to a spot if it's zone. You'll sit down in zone, man to man, keep going.
So
I marvel at some of the way these guys attack defenses, and the defenses don't get it by just pushing a receiver down, getting hands on a guy.
Well, because I think a lot of times you scared, and here's the thing. First of all, you're talking about doing that to some big ass receivers. Nico Collins ain't a small dude. So if you got Denzel over him, you want Denzel to be rough on him? Because if he missed, then it's over quicker.
Yeah. Where'd Collins go to college?
I'm glad you brought that up right there because I got to ask a question.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad you guys brought that up about people hitting people and all that and not being able to play football. Because
did you see what happened to the Bills?
That's what I was about to say.
Wait, when he did the fake slide, He did the fake slide, and then
he's
supposed to get knocked out. And then the next time he got hit, you know what the official should have said? You shouldn't have fake slid.
Right.
No play.
He ends up fake sliding and getting a 50-something yard touchdown because the dude's got to stop playing football. Right?
Well, I'll tell you, the NFL's got an officiating problem. I saw something yesterday that why isn't this called? So the defensive back's trying to tackle the guy, all right, and he's got his back to the offensive line. That offensive lineman came and just hit him, plowed him into his back. Now, why is that allowed? That the players engaged in the tackle and the offensive lineman is just, and that guy, I think that guy ended up going out of the game. Why is that not clipping? Why is that not unnecessary roughness? NFL's got a real officiating problem as far as that.
You know what? It's not an officiating problem as much as it is a rules problem.
Right.
You see, you asking guys, because with the officials, what people don't understand is the officials are given the rules and they're trying to uphold the rules. But a lot of times when they call these penalties, you only know what the rule is by listening to the official in the box, and it's still confusing as hell.
Can I say this? And I know the games are longer, but I feel like these guys need to challenge calls again.
Yeah.
Because this pass interference, like against Njoku, that might change the game.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about the New Orleans game like 5 or 6 years ago?
Oh my goodness. When they just cleaned them out?
Right.
And it changes coaching jobs too.
And so
that was a pass interference against Njoku.
100% was. And then I watched all the other games, and I watched all these other quarterbacks sliding penalties. Flacco didn't get one when he got hit.
Nope.
He didn't get a penalty.
Even when Mason Rudolph slid last night, he wasn't going to get the call, and the guy kind of brushed against him. But as soon as Josh Allen one, that's the one we're talking about, right?
Because he didn't even he went to hit him, and when he started sliding, he picked up. It wasn't like he got a running start. He was already there committing the tackle.
So as a defensive player, and you playing against Josh Allen, and you just watch this dude fake slide, what are you supposed to do?
Knock his ass out.
What are you supposed to do?
That's what Wilbur Marshall would do. That's what Gary Fensick would do. Doug Plank, Frank Stamms, take him out. It's worth 15 yards. Buddy Ryan used to have this thing. He used to say, you know what, fellas? During the pregame, he goes, I heard that backup quarterback's pretty good. Let's see him early. Let's see how early we could see the backup quarterback. And that was just a voicing a bounty.
In today's football, he gets suspended for half the year.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You guys know more of the current players than I do. Do the current players do they buy into that, or are they saying no? We're all taking care of each other.
No, hell no.
That's that guy in Detroit. How can you say back in Detroit?
How can you say we take care of each other with what happened with Nick Chubb?
Yeah. Same thing that happened with that tight end from Minnesota, that defensive back from Detroit. Hit 2 guys. Hit that Rams guy. Frank, every year there's a squabble about the officiating, right? Every year there's something, there's a scenario. I'm sure, the Rams have a gripe to say, hey, if we get the first down there, they're not getting the ball back. We're going to run the clock out and kick the field goal. but we never
Well,
get a chance to see that, do we?
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the bone calls. They exist. They'll always exist. But I'm talking about what you said about Buddy Ryan saying, "Hey, you know what? You know," and basically putting a bounty on him without putting a bounty on him. I mean, do the
Right.
players? I mean, do you think the players? Do you think the players accept that and say, "Okay," and they keep it in house, or
let
do
me
they,
ask you a question.
when they see their buddies in the off season, do they say, "Hey, you
I don't think
believe
they
that
do it. I don't think they're tough.
Let me-
I don't think they do it nowadays. I think it's a
let me
different
ask you a
game.
question.
I really think it's a
Let me
different
ask
game.
you guys. Let me ask you guys a question. Ever since Jim Schwartz took over, that's been a different defense. More aggressive, physical, swarming to the ball. So I wouldn't doubt it. Okay? Because I've seen the difference in that defense from last year to this year with their physicality, with their swarming to the ball, with their effort up at the line of scrimmage,
Old school
hitting
stuff.
in the secondary. Right. So I'm not going to just dismiss it and say he didn't have words to get them going, because it may not have been those words, but they played a different level of football this year.
All right. Before we
Hey,
go,
let me get to
we still got a
before-
little time, but I got to ask you
Yeah.
guys something.
Go ahead.
What is
I'm
going
next then. I ask the next question.
going to happen to our old coach?
Well, thank you for leading Bill Belichick. Okay, here's three guys: Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, and Pete Carroll. When I woke up and I heard that, I said, "That's the last of the dynasty of old school coaches."
Yep.
What's
You
going to
know,
happen?
remember Parcells? Remember Parcells?
I'll tell
and
you what.
Dave,
I'll-
Dan Reeves, and all. You know, blah, blah, blah. These are last old school coaches that we're going to see.
What's going to
I
happen?
tell you, I think Belichick will go to the highest bidder. Now, if they all offer the same money, I think he's a Philly or a Washington guy. I don't know. Has Philly fired their coach yet?
Frank, let me ask you a question. You're a coach that's 14 wins away from the all-time record.
You got to find some players.
You gonna go to a team that don't have a quarterback after what you just went through with McCorkle? Hell no. Here's what's gonna happen. Jerry
said he'll
Jones-
go to the highest bidder.
No, he ain't going to the highest bidder. He going to a team with a damn quarterback so he can get this record and compete. So there's two choices. There's two choices.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. And you're right. I mean, I think his legacy that's the most important thing to him, and you very well could be right. But I see Bill's a pretty shrewd businessman too. And
but he ain't coaching now for anything other than try to get another chip and get that record. And you're not gonna do that with a bum ass quarterback.
If I was him, and I don't know, and I'm not wishing anything on anybody.
Dallas.
Yep.
Because guess what? Let me tell you what. Why. Here's what Bill will do. He'll get some big boys up in the middle of that line on defense. He gonna coach their ass up. And then he gonna just have somebody just continue on with what Dak has been doing. Right?
You guys know how this guy is. Stop acting like you don't know who he is.
Wait, the other thing is, you know where else? If Jim don't take that job, the Chargers. Because they got a ready-made defense and they got a quarterback, and there's no way in hell they should have been that bad these last couple of years.
Well, to Frank's point, the highest bidder is the guy down in Atlanta.
I don't think
no quarterback.
That doesn't give him anything.
I realize that. It doesn't give him anything? Okay.
It doesn't, I mean,
as far as winning games. Yeah.
As far as winning games. I mean, he could win it. He could possibly win a division because it's weak.
But no, he ain't gonna. You want to be 9-8, 10-7, winning the division and having to travel all the time.
So his best bet is Dallas if that came open. Of teams that are open, are existing, would have an opening existence. I would say Harbaugh is gonna probably get it, but it's the Chargers.
Philadelphia has a quarterback.
No, I'm saying, but I'm talking about teams that don't have a coach as of right now. The best situation for him,
Carolina,
would be
San Diego.
They don't have no players.
I know they don't.
We'll
I know
get
that
it.
you said, yeah.
Chargers first. Then who? Shit, after that, then who? Who's good?
Seattle?
Seattle. Yes. Seattle.
Now when you talk about that, Eric, they don't have a quarterback. You know, he went through that whole demise in New England after Brady left. He fought hard to get a quarterback in there, and he didn't get one. You think he and Jerry Jones could have a marriage together? I know
for
Bill
3
Parcells,
years.
because Bill Parcells, right? Bill Parcells handled it, and
For
his
3
advice
years.
Yeah.
Before it
Yeah,
goes sideways.
But I think even Bill Parcells is Bill Parcells, and he's done great things with the Giants and took the Patriots to the championship and all that. He ain't Bill Belichick.
Right.
When
Damn,
Bill
you're
walks
right.
in there,
They're both named Bill. They're both named Bill, though.
when Bill Belichick walks in there and says, "As a head coach, I have 6 of those things,
Right.
more than your franchise."
Mhm. So he's got clout. Can you see him not coaching? Can you see him going to TV and just riding off?
TV? Hell no.
I'd watch him. I'd watch him just for the laughs on TV.
But Frank, you're not getting the real him.
Well, I don't know about that. You know,
on TV.
I think
he can't cuss. He's not gonna be like,
Hey.
"Well, get some
Hey.
shit."
Hey, you know what's funny?
Oh,
He's
TV,
the only-
yeah.
Wait, is Bill Belichick the only person that would be mad as hell, and you have to wonder whether he was mad or not?
well,
But you knew he was serious.
and so we all know this. The best I had a coach, Fred Whittingham. Fred Whittingham, his son coaches Utah. Fred never said shit. Never said shit. But I'll tell you what, and I remember those guys telling me. But when Fred spoke, you listened. And that's and I think that would be refreshing in the booth, because these guys in the booth never shut the fuck up. They talk so fucking much.
Thank you.
I can't fucking watch it.
But
And I'd
that's
rather
what they.
just watch
But
the
that's what
game
they
and then-
want them to do.
Frank, I get that. They won't shut up. But in the Bill that you want to see, because you know him from a day-to-day basis, the U.S. is not going to see. TV
Hey.
is not going to see him.
The public ain't ready for that.
They're not ready for it. They
They
think
ready
they
for
are.
that. Hey,
I thought he did a great job in that NFL Network,
what-
the top 100
I get-
players. Remember, he was part of that segment.
Hey, there's
I
a
talked to
thought.
so many people.
Yeah.
I talked
There's
to
an
so many
idea.
people.
There's an idea for Peacock. There's an idea for YouTube. Is put Belichick on the broadcast and give it an R rating.
Hey, that dude he's made for
Like
cable.
Eli and Peyton. Yeah.
He's made for cable TV. He
Yeah.
ain't made for he
HBO.
I tried to get him to come on our show tonight.
He's
I
made for
couldn't get
cable
through.
TV, and you guys, you very well know that in order to get your best laughs and everything, he has to be able to be himself.
I mean, because you remember when it was his first year, and he went up in the huddle to break up a fight, and he got punched in the face.
Mhm.
And he came up with like 27 rules. Hey, if you fight and you get hurt, both of y'all gonna get fined until you come back. Right? And he was like,
What is going on? What
Yeah.
the? How about?
hey, or how about
what
how
the?
about how
what
about
is-
when old boy hurt his arm and he got up limping, and he said, "Son, I've been around football 20-something years." He said, and I never seen a man hold his arm and limp. He said, "You need to make up your mind. Do you want to play football or not?"
Yeah, he was funny as hell. People don't know how funny he is.
But he says he gives you some of the worst information in the world as a matter of fact,
Right.
right? He say, "Son," he say, "Here, you know, if you keep playing like that, you won't be here for the evening practice." And he just walk off. Like he just like, but you know what? You had no question where he was coming from or where
Hey,
he
It was a
was
warning.
headed.
Hey, Leroy, you remember the time I was and it happened occasionally because I was, a bad actor from time to time. But you remember the time I came to practice late? It was a Saturday morning, and I walked in late, and I had called him, so I'm gonna be late. Guys, I'm riding with, got We got stopped, blah, 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 didn't have a license. And I walked in the office and walked in the team meeting, and he had a damn video of cops.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a video of cops playing.
Dude, I'm telling you, he would. Now, the funniest thing, and I'm gonna just tell parts of it. I ain't gonna tell the whole story. We had just beat a team. I think it might have been Cincinnati. And we came into the meeting room, and he was going off. It was almost like we lost 40-0. And I ain't gonna say who. But somebody said, Bill, you need to take the rest of the day off.
It was Bernie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it.
He said, you need to take the rest of the day off, go home, make love to your wife. Right? And
Not like that.
Not like that. He said like that. So me and Eric look at each other, and Eric looked at me and said, that shit was funny. I'm laughing. Ah!
And so Frank, so you know that's a true story, right?
Yeah. I heard you tell that story.
So we all start laughing, and Bill was just standing up there, and it didn't look good. And that was the last we saw Bernie.
Right. But Bernie knew he was on his way out.
Yeah.
Bernie knew he was on his way out, but Bill, yeah.
But then the other thing you have to also remember when we went out to San Diego, and Bill says, hey, I got 10 shuttles outside. There's gonna be a coach in the shuttle. All the drinks are free if you hang out with that coach. Whatever bar y'all go to, the bill's taken care of. And he said, y'all go out and have a good time. If you ain't with a coach, your ass got to be here at 11. So or how about this one? I know we didn't
Looking back at that, you think that was against the cap rules?
Nothing like blue collar dollars. Hey, I used to love getting that little envelope, a little hustle play.
Impartial benefits. It might be a compliance issue. It might be a compliance issue we look into.
But yeah, so there were just times where, and you know what? When you first meet Bill, it comes across a lot different than if you've been with him for a year. Because when he first got there and we had them like 6 or 7 days or 2-a-days and full pads. And then he would say, we would go in and play, we would go with shoulder pads and helmets on Friday, play a preseason game on Sunday, and we were supposed to get 24 hours off, and he would go 24 hours from game start. So we had to report the next day at 6 o'clock till the league came after him.
Yep.
Right? And told us we had to get the whole day off.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his quirks. But when you sit back and after it was all said and done, and you sit back, you think, damn, we was ready to play some football when he was here.
And you know what's crazy though? I've been on, I was about to say Twitter, but X. And I've seen as of late people talking about how he wasn't a good football coach and didn't know much. It was all Tom Brady. And I thought to myself, shit. Yeah. That's because you don't know how much time this dude would put into this.
He would go in pregame, he would walk up and down the stretch line and tell every person on the team what they was going to be dealing with, offensively or defensively.
Hey.
Why didn't he win? Well, what? Okay, go ahead. I don't want to spoil
I'll say, he asked you, who's that linebacker, asked Leroy, who's that linebacker's backup if he gets hurt?
Yeah. You had to know all that stuff. One of the reasons, listen, why didn't he have more success?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. We went to the playoffs. We came back. We were balling. We were like 4-1 or 4-2. I think we were leading the division. And then for some reason, they decided to announce in the middle of the season that we were leaving.
You want the real reason?
No, I'm not saying
no. I'm gonna give you the real reason, Frank. I'm gonna give you Frank real reason.
All right.
Why he ain't having success in the Browns? He fucking traded me.
There you go. I like that. I'm sure. Why couldn't he? Well, I'm talking about New England. I thought he was successful with Cleveland. I think every year, outside of the debacle, and like you said, they announced the move in the middle of the year. Fuck, who wins in that environment? But I thought the Browns, I came in there at the end of his second year. We got better every year, the '94
Right.
playoff team. But why? This is what's puzzling to me. Brady leaves, and then he just can't find the formula in New England. And I just don't understand.
Here, I don't care what kind
all
of
the
coach.
guys, but Bill had control, but guys who were doing all the scouting and drafting people left.
Right.
When you have success, they start to pluck your success away from your team, whether it be coaches, players.
Then it became all about him deciding who, where, and when. And now he's in a position where he's putting defensive coordinators as offensive coordinators and guys sharing coordinator positions and things like that. And so it's rough for him.
It's still football. These guys know how to coach. They know how to do their job.
And the other thing
Matt Patricia, come on.
Hey, and the other thing is that all your hopes and dreams of getting to the promised land without Tom Brady were in the hands of McCorkle. That's all you need to know.
Jones.
It's Mac Jones. His real name is McCorkle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. McCorkle. Yeah, that's his real name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How about that?
I called his ass Mac. Oh, that's a y'all didn't know. Y'all didn't know that. That's why I called him McCorkle.
No.
Well, here's one thing I don't know, and our listeners in Browns Nation don't know either. Who are we forecasting to win the next round of the playoffs, and then ultimately conference championships, and then the matchup in the Super Bowl?
Well, I'll go first. I don't know how it's going to go down, but I'm predicting that it's Ravens 49ers and Ravens win. And I'm not supposed to, and as a Brown, I guess I'm not supposed to want the Ravens to win, but I kind of want them to win. I like Lamar.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for the Ravens.
I like everything about
he
Lamar.
He is a easy person to like.
Right.
Like what he's been through, how he's handled himself, how he handled his contract situation, how he kept playing.
Doubters.
Right. Absolutely. And he's one of the few quarterbacks that have come into the league as an athlete or a runner and became better throwing the football.
And can I say this? And we talk about players all the time, and we talk about coaches all the time. But when we talk about Lamar being in Baltimore, you gotta give a high five to Harbaugh, because they said we're gonna play him like he plays.
Right.
We're gonna let him be the guy he is. We're not gonna try to turn him into a Tom Brady, because that's not who he is.
Right.
We're gonna let him be who he is, and we're gonna build people, bring people in to ride this out around his talents.
Right.
Let's go around the league. Can Tampa Bay beat Detroit?
No. Not in Detroit.
I was going to say this. Here's the only thing that I would kind of push back on a little bit with that is that Tampa can be explosive offensively, and Detroit can sometimes not cover anybody. So this could end up being a shootout. And anytime you have a shootout, one mistake swings the game.
And there was mistakes that Tampa made yesterday that Philly didn't take advantage of.
Because Philly couldn't score.
Yeah. Because they couldn't score.
Right. So, but that ain't going to be the situation here. Detroit could score.
Right.
So I'm guessing whichever one of these quarterbacks makes that pivotal mistake and give your team a 2-score lead or something like that, then it becomes difficult for either side. I think that can happen. The thing I'm shocked about, and I can't, can we say Green Bay has a chance against? No. Yes. I mean, you say that. You say that. You
said
it earlier in the broadcast, Leroy.
They have a chance because they're playing. They have a chance because they're playing.
But have they not, as of late, shown that they can be good enough to beat a team like San Francisco?
I don't know if they can disrupt Purdy enough.
Right.
It's a team that can disrupt him that can beat San Francisco.
Right. Just get him just a little off kilter.
Right. I
How
don't
about,
know if
how
they
about
could do-
Kansas? How about Kansas City? Can they beat Buffalo?
Man.
Yeah,
I
the
think
run
so.
game.
I say
think
yes,
so.
yes, as long as Josh Allen's playing quarterback, because he has a propensity to throw it to the other team.
What do you think, Mike?
Hey, man.
Hey,
Leroy.
as much as
Leroy made Frank mad. He about to go out there and do something bad to somebody.
he's going to a
Yeah,
meeting,
don't-
he's going to
Hey,
a
Frank,
council meeting.
Frank
I'm
got
driving.
a damn machete in his hand.
Hey,
Damn, you're right. Take heed, Leroy. Listen to what Eric's saying.
don't
Sleep
worry.
with one eye open, brother.
I got TSA. Let me know when you hit town, brother. You best believe that.
Better, you need more than TSA.
Yeah. Hey, as we sum up the year, and the playoffs coming down the stretch here, it's been fun talking about it, right? It's been fun, riding away with the Browns.
It's been a fun year because there was a stretch where we were all miserable, right?
Yeah.
And then it just turned around, and then we were back to being excited, and then it came to a screeching halt. But that's the nature of, rooting for a team and being a fan of a team.
That's why you play the game.
That's it.
Yeah. So the likelihood of San Francisco and the Ravens making the Super Bowl, there might be an upset. If Kansas City beats Buffalo in Buffalo, is that an upset?
It would be, because Kansas City, I still believe Kansas City can't score.
And Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes has never played a playoff game outside of Kansas City.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
And
Okay.
they're
The rookie.
saying,
Go ahead, Frank.
Along those lines, some people are looking at him like, in order for him to be considered great, he's got to be able to win on the road. This will be really interesting.
Wait, what?
And I've noticed
What?
And I've
in order for him to be considered great.
Well,
He's got two Super Bowls.
No. He meant the greatest.
Oh,
he didn't mean great. He meant the greatest.
I'm like, what are you talking? Like, he got two Super Bowls and he ain't even 30.
Yeah. So, well, I guess to be considered that, thank you, Eric, is the greatest. He's got to be able to win on the road. I mean, do you guys agree with Mike? Mike, do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. You have to win on the road.
You know what's going to happen, though? I'm about to jump on a plane and fly to Buffalo and get my $20 an hour to shovel some snow.
And a free meal or free hot meal.
Hey, all that's going to afford you is that bottle that you got in that cigar, because you're going to have to smoke it and drink while you in that cold.
Right.
You're going to say, hey, what are you doing?
I'm like, I ain't got shit else to do. Browns ain't playing.
Okay, Browns Nation. Okay, Browns Nation. You heard it from Eric. You heard it from Leroy. You heard it from Frank. You heard it from myself. The #1 podcast and alumnimedia.com. You are in the Dog Pound. Thank you for all your listeners. We look forward to catching up with you next week and talk more about these playoff matchups. Good night from the boys in the hood. Good night from my teammates.